Hi guys, welcome back to Crypto Chester. My name is Chester and today I'll be walking you through the crypto markets. First things first, we're going to start off with the short term for Bitcoin, then the mid term for Bitcoin, and then the long term for Bitcoin. Once we've covered Bitcoin, we're going to be jumping across to some altcoins and seeing about some crucial break points there, right? So without further ado, let's just get straight into the short term for Bitcoin. As you can see on this hourly chart here, we do have this falling price channel. This falling price channel, which after seeing that $30,000 Bitcoin, which was very shocking indeed, may I say, we did actually come up, we recovered, and we came back, and we actually reclaimed this this falling price channel that we've got going on here. Yesterday, a lot of YouTubers thought that we were going to actually pump to the upside, clear this 43k resistance point around this point here, and basically surge to the upside after this head and shoulders pattern that we had going on here, right? I wasn't convinced as I saw this giant trend line coming down from the top side here, and we're still in this price channel. We did actually test it to the top side here on this resistance point at around 42.6, but then as you can see, we have just dumped from there. We have actually come up and we've tested it again, not quite as far up as the resistance point of 42.6, but around 42.2 there. At this point in time, we are not finding support on this trend line. We're not breaking to the upside in terms of this chart pattern that we've got going on here. We are actually losing all of the major moving averages that are caught up in the middle. And if they're caught up, we are initiating some sort of break pattern. Could be to the upside, could be to the downside. In my personal opinion, at this point in time, I do think we are going to come back down for Bitcoin, right? We are going to come back down for Bitcoin because we've tested this twice. We've not found support on it. So in my opinion, I think there's a lot of sell power in the market right now. And as you can see, these moving averages are called up, right? They are called up. So we're looking for a break to the downside, right? In terms of what's happening, in terms of a measure move, if we can break to the upside, just on the basis if we can break to the upside, we would be looking at a trade something along the lines of this. Obviously, we do have this 200 moving average coming down, which we need to think about if we are going to get in along, if we are going to see some insane buying power to the top side. But we are going to have to think about also this resistance point to potentially actually enter our position, right? Because we don't want to get in and then get basically rejected off that resistance point like we have done previously here, and then basically come back down, reclaim this falling price channel, and then see a stop out, right? That is not what we want at all, right? In terms of a healthy trade, I'd be waiting to come out, reclaim the support on this resistance line at 42.5 there, and then getting along from there and take profit at this 200 moving average. Because as you can see, we primarily either ride along this 200 moving average or we respect it, right? Or we respect it. So that's the healthy long position I'd be looking for Bitcoin today if we were to see a surge of buying power to the upside. Now, right now, we are falling below all major moving averages on the short term, right? We are falling below all major moving averages on the short term. So that's an indication. That's an indication that the price is going to come up and test these moving averages here, and we're probably going to find some resistance here. We're probably going to find some resistance, and I can't see us basically smashing through all of this level of resistance and then clearing this level of resistance as well, right? So I can basically see us probably just trickling down today. Probably a bit of sideways action, probably a bit of trickle down, unless we have some insane panic sell power, right? If we have some insane panic sell power, I can see us basically coming down, testing the bottom side of this price channel here. But rest assured, we do have this volume weighted ATR band, which is this green line here. We do have this volume weighted ATR band that is potentially going to hold a nice level of support. And we do actually have this level of support from when we saw the candle close, from when we saw the dirty 30k Bitcoin for Bitcoin before, right? That's the chart pattern and the kind of sort of like average of a prediction, right? Can't get my words out. Average of a prediction for the short term for Bitcoin. In terms of the RSI, what's happening now for the short term? Obviously, we have spoke about this dominant trend line that we've got on the RSI, and we did see us breaking it yesterday, right? We did see us breaking it yesterday, and that was these tests. That was when we were testing the top side of this channel and this heavy resistance point at 42,600. And we've fallen below the trend line here. We've fallen below the trend line on the RSI, which could indicate, right, which could indicate another lot of selling power. And that's why, another reason why I think we are going to come down, right? We are going to come down and potentially test the bottom side of this channel. It's quite unlikely we see 36,000 today, but never count your chickens in a sense, because obviously we did see this insane panic sell-off before, and a lot of people are, everyone's uncertain of the markets right now. They think we're in a bear market, right? We could be in a bear market, but we just don't know. We are testing the top side, the bottom side of this bull market barrier on long term for Bitcoin, right? But we'll get to that in a bit. In terms of the RSI right now, if we are going to come up and test this this dominant trend line on the RSI here, we are potentially going to see some resistance here. We are going to see resistance, and that is going to cause some selling power. I don't think we're going to get quite as oversold as we did before, but we could be seeing something along the lines of coming down to around 35 on the RSI there. Definitely something to think about when trading Bitcoin today, in terms of getting in some long positions, right? Because if we don't find support on this trend line on the RSI in terms of buying power, that long's not going to go well for you, my friend. It's not going to go well for you, my friend. With that being said, as I said, I don't think we're going to come down all the way to touch 36 here. And this theory on the MACD here on the short term for Bitcoin actually backs up what I'm saying here, right? As you can see, we do have this dominant higher lows being formed, this dominant trend cycle on the MACD here. If we are, which we have, we've just switched to, we've just had a bearish crossover on the MACD. We are in a downtrend right now, and that's obviously the rejection from the top side of this price channel here. We are in a bear trend. So what we need to do here, we need to come down and test the bottom side of this trend line on this trend cycle on the MACD here, and that basically indicate that we are going to come down to around 37, 38, around that sort of point, right? If we do break that trend line, if we break that trend line, we are going to see a new trend cycle on the MACD here. We're going to see a new trend cycle, which will initiate a lower low of that cycle, right? A lower low of that cycle, and then we're going to have to potentially see some higher lows continuing from there in the later time frames, right? And that basically means, right? That basically means in terms we are going to potentially see a lower low here if we do break, and that'll mean that we'll come down and test the bottom side, and then we're probably going to have some pretty fizzled out patterns after that in terms of trends, right? Fizzled out trends, which will basically mean a nice sideways market, potentially finding support on this point here. I don't think we're going to break this anytime on the short term, right? We do have the support of the volume weighted ATR band there as well. That's sort of the short term for Bitcoin. I'm just going to jump across to the mid term for Bitcoin there. But in terms of the summary quickly, I think we are going to come down. I think we are going to kind of stop at around 37, 38 mark. So that's definitely something to think about when taking your positions on the short term in terms of scalping and that sort of thing there, right? In terms of the long term for Bitcoin right now, we do have this giant broadening wedge, right? We do have this giant broadening wedge, which we were discussing on yesterday's stream, right? Stream 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, right? Average of 1 to 2 hours in the morning. Subscribe if you want to trade with me in the morning, and chuck some altcoins in that chat, and I'll be doing that after Bitcoin, right? But as you can see, broadening wedge here on the midterm for Bitcoin, and that basically, as you can see, this trend line had the confirmation of where the candle closed when we saw that $30,000 Bitcoin. Crazy stuff still, in my opinion. Obviously, we saw that surge of buying power to the upside. And I think a lot of that was done by like the FOMO market as well, because obviously we saw some insane buying power to the upside, and we obviously had literally loads of limit orders and buying power to the upside to get to this point, right? At this point in time, we are actually currently trying to find support on this dominant trend line, right? We're trying to find support on this dominant trend line, testing the 10 moving average. We do also have the volume weighted ATR band coming in here, and as you can see, we do continuously find support on that, right? If we don't find support on it, we basically trend below it, right? We trend below it, but as soon as we do find support on it, that initiates some buying power in the price, right? An uptrend basically forming, right? So that's definitely something to think about in terms of the midterm at this point in time. If we are to lose this dominant trend line, which we have found support on numerous occasions here, I can see us coming lower. And potentially testing this trend line at the bottom here and hitting that level of support, which basically coincides with here and with the short term of Bitcoin, and basically breaking that MACD trend cycle on the short term there. So it's definitely something to take into consideration here. I'm just gonna have a sip of my tea. Losing my breath in. Need that extra caffeine, right? A gulp of the tea, not a sip. Guys, if you're liking the stream here, hit that thumbs up. Helps me out tremendously. Turn that thumbs up blue. Yeah, it helps me out tremendously. And if you never want to miss one of my videos or my streams, hit that subscribe button. I do upload. I'm going to be uploading I upload every single day, and I do stream Monday to Friday every single morning. So if you want to trade with me every day, Monday to Friday, then hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You're never going to miss when I go live, right? At this point in time, back to the midterm of Bitcoin, we are in this broadening wedge. If we are going to see some surge buying power to the upside, if we reclaim this volume weighted ATR band and the 21 moving average, this yellow one that we've got coming down here, if we are to claim that, right, if we are to claim that and find support on it, I can basically see Bitcoin coming up, testing the 55 from there and potentially finding some resistance and then potentially seeing a break later on in time, right? I'm talking literally maybe a week from now, right? At this point in time, we do need some buying power for Bitcoin. We do need some confidence in the market. So go buy Bitcoin, people. No, it's not financial advice, just my opinions of what I think might happen in the market, right? At this point in time, the RSI on the midterm, right? We are pretty central. We're not overbought, we're not oversold. We do have this dominant trend line coming down from the top side of the RSI here, which we have continuously found support on, right? No, sorry, we continuously found resistance on, right? So at this point in time, if we are going to come up and find support on this volume weighted ATR band and the 21 moving average here, I can see us basically coming up. I can see us coming up and testing the 55 moving average, and then our next target of resistance to find support on would be literally sat at around $47,000. And for me, that is very good indeed for Bitcoin, because it brings Bitcoin up, brings all the other altcoins up with it, okay? That's the RSI. If we are going to come up, we're probably going to find some resistance there. So in terms of price action, I would expect a reclaim of this 21 moving average that we've got going on here, and then a test of the 55 and probably a test of this resistance point at 47, right? But we are going to potentially see some resistance from that, as we have seen in the past on the RSI, right? As we have seen, it continuously respects it. Definitely something to think about when trading Bitcoin on the midterm, right? In terms of the midterm MACD, right? In terms of the midterm MACD at this point in time, you can see this uptrend has basically smashed that last trend cycle out of the park. We were talking about it yesterday being a flaccid sort of trend and it not respecting this, a flaccid sort of trend and respecting this trend line, and basically us flipping over to a bearish crossover and basically seeing another trend to the downside. But no, we have gone sideways. We have seen that buying power here. We have seen that buying power. We have gone sideways though, and we have been basically continuously testing. But obviously, we do have this uptrend that's broken this cycle here. That's broken the last uptrend cycle. That obviously means that we have got buying power. We have got buying power to the upside, even though we've gone sideways, right? Even though we've gone sideways, we have got buying power to the upside because we've got a new cycle. It's not the biggest cycle in the world, but it's still an uptrend cycle, right? So in terms of the MACD right now, we are looking at being in this uptrend, hopefully for a while. As you can see, we do have these two lines here that they're not crossing yet. They're nowhere near crossing, right? They're quite far away. In terms of time frames for them crossing, I think we're near enough all day before they're going to start to cross, right? Near enough all day before they're going to start to cross, and that could basically initiate a buying sequence. It could initiate a buying sequence before we have a bearish crossover again. And the bearish crossover that we have again, it does need to respect this level of support on the MACD here in terms of a downtrend, right? So I can basically see us, if we do switch to a bear trend here, we are going to see a higher low here. We're going to see a higher low on the MACD, and then we're potentially going to see a bull trend switch again, right? Hopefully, at this point in time, we can see a nice surge to the upside, a reclaim of this volume-weighted ATR band and this trend line here. And as I said, to come up and test this 55 moving average. That's the kind of ideal situation, right? That's the ideal situation. And from there, we'll be setting higher lows continuously in the new trend cycle. Hopefully, we can get somewhere up here in terms of buying power, people. That's what I kind of hope for Bitcoin right now, because God damn, do we need it, right? God damn, do we need it, right? That's sort of the midterm for Bitcoin, right? Summed up there. Midterm for Bitcoin summed up there. If I'm looking for a position, right? If I'm looking for a position for Bitcoin, I would be looking at coming over, as I said, getting in potentially along if we are to break this volume weighted ATR band at around $40,500. If we're to hold it, right? If we are to hold it, we do have literally 5 minutes left of the 4-hour candle. So I probably will jump back to this chart in a minute just to see where we're going to open, what price action is going to do from there, and basically just give you guys a live update, right? Give you guys a live update. But as I said, if I'm going to be getting in a position here, it is going to be a potential long off this trend line to the upside. If we can find some support on this moving average, this 21 moving average coming down here, and this volume weighted ATR band coming down here, right? That's the midterm. Now for the long term, right? Now for the long term. God, it looks awful, right? Now for the long term, we do have a higher low set here, which is good. We didn't get a lower low, which is great. We are seeing buying power to the upside, but this is crucial, right? This is crucial, right? Bull market barrier. If it's blue, we're in a bull market. If it's red, we are in a bear market, right? Definitely something to think about in terms of the price action of Bitcoin on the long term here. As I was saying on yesterday's stream, I did see us potentially coming up and testing this 42K mark, right? 42,400. We did nearly ever so nearly get there, right? We nearly got there, but we did see a lot of rejection selling power from that, right? A lot of rejection selling power from that. And that basically initiated the price to come all the way down and dragging a lot of the altcoins with it. And that's why on the top 50 top 50 cryptocurrencies you're seeing today, it is looking red, right? It's looking red apart from XMR. I've always been bullish on XMR, and also crypto.com, right? That's another cryptocurrency that is seriously up and coming and has huge upside potential. Definitely one to think about in terms of getting that in your portfolio. Obviously, not financial advice. Do your own research. Don't take my opinions directly into account. Just going to have some more tea here. And guys, I'm nearly done with Bitcoin. If you do have any suggestions for altcoins in the chat, dump them in there now, and I will get onto them and do a TA for you straight after I've done the long term of Bitcoin, right? As you can see here, we did come up, we did come up and test. At this point in time, I can, if we can close this candle above 38,000, right? Above 38,000, I can basically see a sort of reverse in the trend, right? A reverse in the trend of basically us coming up to the upside. That's the kind of initial thing right now. And as you can see, we do have this volume weighted ATR band, which we're currently finding support on. And that's another reason why we need to close above it, right? If we can close above it, we're going to see some buying power, right? We're going to see some buying power and a potential test, probably maybe in the next day or so. But we are seeing a lot of validity with Bitcoin at the moment. So it could be literally, it could be on this candle, right? We could be on this candle because we did close above it, above the volume weighted ATR band. So we could see a nice surge to the upside here. We have already tested this 10 moving average already. So we could be potentially waiting for another 12-hour candle here and then coming up from there. But the crucial point right now is to get over this bull market barrier that we've got here, right? This bull market barrier. We need to get over this. We need to get over this to confirm that we are back in the bull run, right? We want to be in that bull run, right? To confirm that we are going to be in that bull run. If we see another rejection from this and then a plummet in the price, it's not good at all for Bitcoin. It's not good at all for cryptocurrencies in general. As you probably saw, this insane panic sell-off, and it just shows how quickly confidence can be lost. How quickly confidence can be lost in the crypto markets, right? So we do need to hit this target. We need to hit this target of around 43, right? We need to get over 43 and then progress to the upside on the long term. We need to. Saying that with such strength, right? And then the next target of resistance that we need to break is this moving average at 45.7. Obviously, that is potentially going to come down as we progress in price. So we could be seeing it around 44, but the initial target right now is this 43,000 mark. So be aware for that, right? Be aware for that, because if we don't break that, we are going to be looking at a surge to the downside, because that basically confirms that we're in the bear market, right? Confirms that we're in the bear market, and that's going to bring all of the altcoins down with it, as we saw the other day in this massive panic sell-off. But let me jump back to the previous bull trend, right? Let me do to the weekly, right? Let me jump back to the previous bull trend. As you can see here, we did come up. We did come up here, and we came into this zone, and we basically came up and we've reclaimed this barrier. So that's something that we could be looking at doing right now. And I did say yesterday on my stream yesterday morning, that was around 100% there when we came back up, right? Near enough 100%. So that is something that we could be thinking about in terms of price action for Bitcoin now. If we are going to see clearance of that 43,000 mark, right? If we can see clearance of that 43,000 mark, we are going to be looking. We're going to be looking at potentially a serious surge to the upside, right? A serious surge to the upside. But if we don't clear the next point at 53, right? It's a big stretch, right? It's a big stretch. We could see a reverse in the price, right? And look, let me get that up to, like, it was what, 96%? Did we just say? In terms of copying the previous trend and previous chart pattern, which what happened price action wise, we could be seeing literally a $59,000 Bitcoin, and then basically a swift rejection from there. If we are to see a swift rejection from there, it's going to be insane sell-offs, right? It's going to be insane validity in the market, and we do need to take into account when trading the long term for Bitcoin. That's kind of the long term for Bitcoin summed up. Obviously, take into account this 43,000 mark that we need to get over, that we definitely need to get over to confirm that we are potentially seeing an end to this horrible mess that we're having right now. But as you can see, this volume weighted ATR band found insane support at the bottom here. So that's definitely something to think about, right? It's definitely something to think about if we are to see a massive panic sell off again, because we could potentially see some limit orders in there. We could potentially see some limit orders in there, and maybe just a little one, in case it's a stop loss. Maybe just a little one, because obviously it's insanely volatile. But when something like that happens, but look, that would have been a 34% gain, right? 34% gain. up until the price action of what it is now, right? That's kind of the long term for Bitcoin. As I said, let's just summarize on that. 43,000. Let's get over that, and then we're happy. We obviously had this 200 moving average at 42, which we're continuously testing. We need to get over that as well and find support on that, right? So be careful when trading all altcoins, because obviously Bitcoin is the leader in the market. And at this point in time, the top 50 are red, right? They are red. Let's jump to some altcoins, right? Let's jump to some altcoins. I did a video yesterday on ADA, right? I did a video yesterday on ADA. As you can see, I think it was around this time I did a video, right? I was looking at this break, right? I was looking at this break to the upside. If we were going to see, well, we were going to see, and that's why I did the video, there was an imminent break happening for this falling wedge that we have currently reclaimed, right? And we could have seen a nice measure move to the upside, right? We could have seen a nice measure move to the upside, and it would have looked something along the lines of this, right? Something along the lines of this. And in terms of a percent for that trade that we were looking at, it was around an 8% trade, right? Very nice trade there for crypto. But yeah, so that would have been some great gains. But as you can see, we did come up. We tested this level. Obviously, I like to get in on the retest, right? I like to get in on the retest because obviously you see that surge of buying power to the upside. We could get a swift rejection from there. And as you can see, at around the 1.94 level, we did get a swift rejection and we did come back down, right? We did come back down. We lost the 200 moving average on the hourly time frame, the short term here. And then we basically in a sense reclaimed this trend line here to the downside, right? We reclaimed this trend line of this falling wedge and we basically fell back inside the falling wedge here. And even came all the way down to test the bottom side, right? Came all the way down to test the bottom side. Yes, we found support, but this obviously meant that we couldn't enter our position, right? We couldn't enter our position, so that it basically makes the video for yesterday sort of invalid until we can get a next level of buying power to the upside for ADA, right? And I'm still bullish on ADA because of everything they're doing in terms of Africa and everything. Do some research on that if you want to learn more on that and what they're trying to do. It's insane. I can see some insane gains for ADA in the future, right? But obviously, they're trialing things at the moment, so it's not quite ready. It's not quite ready. But we are going to see some insane bullish buying power in the future, right? In the future. And that's why I'm very, very bullish on ADA, right? Let me jump across to Doge. I am on a time frame today, right? I'm on a time frame today. I can only stream for around an hour. I do have a puncher on my car, so I've got to get that fixed. I'm booked in at 10:30, which kind of sucks, right? Which kind of sucks, right? Let me just jump onto Doge, right? Let's jump onto Doge because there is an actual big break point on Doge, which I would be looking at if we can find support on it. I don't like Doge. I don't like meme coins, but I know a lot of you guys do, right? I know a lot of you guys do. As I said yesterday, there was a lot of symmetrical triangles playing out on the charts. A lot of symmetrical triangles playing out on the altcoins on the short term. And as you can see, measure move wise to the upside, we did not complete that. A lot of people would have done a measure move like so. And this is what I call a greedy measure move, right? A greedy measure move to the upside would have looked something along the lines of this. And this is why I don't do them, right? This is exactly why I don't do them, because look how high we would have had to go for that. Stupid amounts, stupid amounts. So this is why I do a non-greedy measure move, right? A non-greedy measure move to the upside, and then it's likely that we are going to get there, right? It's likely that we are going to get there. But as I said, there was a lot of symmetrical triangles playing out on a lot of the altcoins, right? A lot of the altcoins yesterday. So that's why I basically said, look, it's going to be too trappy, right? It's going to be too trappy. They're playing out on all the charts. Every chart pattern is going to be it should be different, right? It should near enough be different. But obviously, Bitcoin moved the market so much that all the altcoins basically created this pattern, right? And that basically indicates that we are going to see a lot of traps. And as you can see, if you'd have done a measure move all the way up to the top at 0.45 here, you would have basically been going for that literally a 17% gain on Doge. But you wouldn't have got there, right? You wouldn't have got there. If you'd have managed your position accordingly, you would have basically taken some profit at the 55 moving average, which would have basically been sat at around 40 cent there, right? And you would have got in on the retest at this point here, and you'd have rode it up again, and you'd have got out there, right? In terms of percent for that trade, right? Probably not too big. Yep, nice 6%. Still nice. Still a lovely trade there for Doge. But obviously, I don't really like trading Doge. In terms of patterns, what's going on now? Oh, that's the wrong one. In terms of patterns, what's going on now for Doge, right? In terms of patterns, what's going on now? We do actually have another symmetrical triangle playing out. If you guys can see this, right now, trend line coming across like that. Trend line coming across something looking like this, right? Seeing that sort of going from the previous sort of uptrend that we've got going, the dominant uptrend that we've got going on there. We are currently testing the bottom side of this symmetrical triangle, so we could be looking at a break to the downside or a break to the upside. If we're going to break to the downside, we need to take into account this level of support at 0.37 that we've got there, right? In terms of a measure move down, if we are going to come down for Doge there, it is going to look something along the lines of this. Obviously, if we break this point if we break this point of the symmetrical triangle, if we break further up, it's going to be a further up in terms of price targets, right? In terms of shorts, right? If we say, let's go on the basis that we break it now and we have a massive surge to the downside. I wouldn't be getting in straight away. I'd be waiting for the break of this level of support here. So I'd be getting in probably on the retest of that at around 0.375 in terms of a percent, in terms of a measure move that I'd be going for. It'd be around a near enough of 6%, just under 6% gain there for Doge if we're going to be getting in short on this chart pattern that we've got going on here. And we absolutely know the bottom here is this volume weighted ATR band on this trend line that we've got going on here. Obviously, this is mass sell-off power. We usually don't trend below this, but sometimes we do. And if we do, we 90% of it, well, we always reclaim it, right? We always reclaim it to the upside, right? And vice versa to the downside. As you can see, we do have heavy support in previous price action there on the chart. And probably that's right around, 13th, 12th of May, right? So we obviously do find a massive bottom here at 29. So if you're looking to hodl Doge and you're looking for a position to get into, right? I'd be suggesting around this level of support down here at 28 cents. I can't see us getting there, to be honest, because obviously we do have a lot of buying power in the markets at the moment in terms of Doge, right? Because Doge is just, it's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. Can't get rid of it. Can't get rid of it. It became like fourth on CoinMarketCap the other day in terms of market cap, in terms of strongest cryptocurrencies, which is baffling, right? Because it's obviously a meme coin. So yeah, definitely something to think about if you're going to take a short position. If we are going to see a surge in price to the upside, in terms of a measure move to the upside, we're going to go on the most recent trend here in terms of an uptrend, right? Obviously, depending on where we break. And that obviously lines in perfectly with this trend line that we've got coming up on the top side, right? On the top side. And we do have this moving average coming down here, which is the 200. And obviously, we do find a lot of resistance off that 200. So that's definitely something to think about in terms of a take profit position. If we are going to surge to the upside here, we are going to have to clear this 55 moving average. We are going to have to clear this 21 moving average in terms of finding support on them. And then we've got this symmetrical triangle trend line to get over as well. And in terms of percent for that trade, if we're going to be looking at getting in, we've got no resistance to get through here. So we're going to be looking at a nice 11% trade. So it's definitely something to think about when we are trading Doge, right? In terms of the RSI at this point in time, we are currently pretty central, right? We're pretty central. We do see a bit of selling power over buying power right now, but that's probably down to some sort of trend line coming down along the lines of this. Right? I'm just going to draw it in like that. Yeah, along the lines of this. Is not straight, but yeah. Something along the lines of this, right? Let me do it like that, right? More professional, right? Yeah, something along the lines of this. So if we are going to come up, we do need to take into account that we could potentially find some resistance around this point and then see a move down from there, right? That basically means we're probably going to come up, test the 55 here, test the 55 in this symmetrical triangle, and then basically come down from there, right? And probably consolidate at the end of this triangle before we have a break to the upside or a break to the downside, right? Definitely something to think about when trading Doge. In terms of the MACD here, let's jump to the midterm for Doge and see if these lines come up a bit better on the MACD. As you can see, we do have pretty dominant trend cycles on the midterm for the Doge here. We have just had a bullish crossover, so we are looking at seeing a high low here and respecting this trend line on this trend cycle here. So I could potentially basically seeing us come up, potentially seeing a completion of a measure move here, because obviously we are on the midterm, so this buying power will need to be quite significant, and that could basically mean a break in price and could mean a nice trade there for the short term of Doge, right? Bit of confirmation there, but take into account we are close. These lines are not too far away at all, so we could be looking at a bearish crossover. If we get a bearish crossover, we could see an immediate downtrend, right? An immediate downtrend, and it's not going to be a small one, right? It's not going to be a small one, and we are going to have to try and find support on this resistance line. Yeah, support on this support line as well, right? If we find support on that, we are going to see a pretty big downtrend, and that could basically initiate, as I was saying a minute ago, on the short term here, it could initiate a measure move down, right? It could initiate a measure move down, and that would basically mean something along the lines of this, right? Something along the lines of this. This is definitely something to think about in terms of a trade for Doge right now, referencing the different time frames as you would do normally. Coming down to around 0.35, but I wouldn't be getting in just yet. I'd be waiting for the retest of this crucial level of, it will be resistance when we break it, but at this point it is support, right? That's basically Doge sort of sub-dump for now. I do think we are potentially going to come down. At this point, as you can see, we are testing the lower side of the symmetrical triangle. Let me jump onto another altcoin here. So if you've got any suggestions in the chat, dump them in the chat, guys. If you've got any suggestions for any altcoins there for me to do a little TA on, I'm going to jump to BNB, right? I'm bullish on BNB and I have been for a while, right? As you can see here, we do have another broadening wedge coming down from the top side here. But as you can see, this dump actually pulled us all the way down to a 279 BNB, right? The next level of support in terms of horizontal support points is 302, right? I don't see us getting down there anytime soon because we do have the support of this volume weighted ATR band Granted, though, that is coming down, right? This is obviously the short term for BNB. At this point in time, we have just lost the 21 moving average. That indicates that we could be coming down. We did consolidate around it for a bit, but we have tested it. We have lost it, so we could be coming down. Next target point, $338 in terms of the short term for BNB there. If we're looking at a surge to the upside and a reclaim of this 21 moving average here, I could be seeing us basically coming up, testing this 55 moving average here. If we can find support on that, and we can find support on this pretty dominant trend line, as you can see, we do have a lot of confirmation that this trend line is heavily supported, right? It is heavily supported. So if we do find some sort of support on that, we could see a nice surge in the price for BNB in terms of the short term, right? This is obviously the hourly time frame right now if you want to copy this on your chart. In terms of the RSI right now for BNB, we're pretty central, right? We're pretty central. We do have a dominant trend line coming down from the top side of this RSI here. So if we are going to see a surge in buying power, we are going to actually see a lot more resistance at this 55 moving average and this trend line that we've got coming down, and it's the bottom side of that broadening wedge, which we're looking to reclaim, right? But at this point in time, we are coming down. We are seeing selling power because we've just got rejected off that 21 there. MACD on the short term here. You can see this cycle, this insane higher high that we've got going on here for the MACD, which we set yesterday, I do believe. Yeah, yesterday we do set that, and we have just had a bearish crossover, right? We have just had a bearish crossover, and the lowest point that I can see in terms of this cycle for the MACD is pretty low, right? If we're looking at even literally something along the lines of this setting a higher low, we do need to see some significant selling power to the bottom side, and that basically is another sign that we are going to come down and test this volume weighted ATR band at around 337, 338, 340, let's say, 340, let's say. So if you're looking at a short position, this is a bit of confirmation that we could potentially get there, but I wouldn't just be going on that as well. But if you are looking at it, this would be the next level of support you'd be looking at to test. So potentially take profit there if you're shorting, right? But obviously we are pretty close. We're pretty close in terms of these points on the MACD here. So we could be looking at another bullish crossover imminently, right? Imminently, we could be trapping out in terms of this cycle on the downtrend for the MACD. We could see a bullish crossover happening pretty imminently, and then we would need a higher low, right? We would need a higher low in terms of this cycle trend, and we do have it's a pretty high point, right? It's a pretty high point on the MACD here, so we could be looking at something along the lines of this, obviously depending on where the next trend's going to be, where we're going to find that resistance point on this trend here, if we're going to find it anytime soon, if we can get that bullish crossover. But right, definitely something to think about if you're taking any short positions or potentially long positions off this line here, because we could see a bullish crossover anytime soon, and that obviously means if we find support, if we find resistance up at this point here, we are going to see a nice surge in buying power to the upside, right? Definitely something to think about in terms of trading Binance Coin right now on the hourly. Any suggestions of coins, guys? Any suggestions of coins to think about? I'm going to jump onto XRP right now. Going to jump onto XRP. Also, guys, if you're liking the stream, hit that thumbs up. Helps me out tremendously. And if you want to do this with me every single day, Monday to Friday, hit that subscribe button. I do also really release alt-gen videos as well, so that's definitely something to take into consideration when subscribing to me. But yeah, press that notification bell if you do subscribe, so you never miss one of my uploads. Right, as you can see here on XRP, we do have this this pretty dominant trend to the downside, which we are currently testing. Right, let's go off that wick and that closing body candle on the middle here. We are currently testing this trend line at this point on XRP. God, XRP is currently really cheap, right? Really cheap. Potentially a really good accumulation point if we are to come up and break this bull market barrier later in today or later on in the week. As you can see, we do have this symmetrical triangle playing out on XRP here. So that's definitely something to think about in terms of a surge to the downside, in terms of a measure move, right? Potential short position here. We're looking at this as a potential short position here. In terms of a measure move, that basically brings us right back down to that level of support where we close the main bodies of the second panic sell, right, that we had here, and then we saw that surge of buying power to the upside. So if we are going to get down to this support point, we know that we've got that surge of buying power to the upside, right? We know that we've got the surge of buying power to the upside. So it's definitely something to think about in terms of a take profit. I wouldn't be aiming any lower than that, but in terms of percentage, in terms of shorting XRP right now, pretty scary times, but that's looking at a 12%, right? Looking at a nice 12%, but also we do have to take into account, we do have this volume weighted ATR band coming through, and if I can zoom back in time, as you can see, we do primarily respect it, right? We do primarily respect it. If we don't respect it, we trend below it. We trend below it, and then we reclaim it, right? We always reclaim the volume weighted ATR band at some point, right? At some point, as you can see here in previous times in history, we have dumped below it in some sort of panic sell motion, and then we come up, we reclaim it again. And that's basically the story, and that's why I like to use this volume weighted ATR band. when I'm trading and using it for take profits and stuff like that, because it is very, in a sense, very reliable in terms of plotting out the bottom, and it did plot out the bottom, as you can see, of the last panic sell for Bitcoin, right? Very, very reliable tool there. So if you're looking at a take profit, I'd be taking some sort of profit in terms of shorting XRP at around this point. It's only 4%, still a lovely 4%, but definitely something to think about when you're shorting XRP, if you are going to short XRP, if we lose this symmetrical triangle anytime soon on the hourly time frame. If we don't, right? If we see some buying power at this point in time, we're nearly oversold on the RSI here, so if we do see some buying power, it will be a rejection off this trend line here, off the bottom side of this trend line. And as I said before, we do have a lot of surge of buying power to the upside in terms of this trend line that we've got going on here on the bottom side of this symmetrical triangle, right? So that's definitely something to consider when trading XRP here. If you're looking at the MACD, right? You're looking at the MACD. We've just had that bearish crossover. We could be seeing a nice surge in the price to the downside here, and that could basically mean we are going to basically come up and test the top side of this volume weighted ATR band and find support on it. As you can see, in terms of cycles for the MACD here, we do have this point here, this lower low point here. So I can see us potentially setting a lower high point. It could be like that, could be horizontal, could be a little bit higher, could be a little bit lower. So it's definitely something to think about when trading that, because you need to basically look at where this price action is going to go, look at where the MACD is going to go, and look where this trend's going to, in a sense, fizzle out and stop, right? Because that is the point where you want to be getting out your positions if you are in a short position, right? That's kind of XRP summed up. I do think the MACD is looking pretty good at the moment in terms of a short position, but obviously we do have to take this into account in the RSI. We do need to, if we do become oversold, we are going to see a reversal in the price, right? So yeah, definitely something to think about when trading XRP on the short term, right? Symmetrical triangle there. Lovely, lovely stuff, right? And it's got a lot of confirmation there. It's got a lot of confirmation there. As I said, guys, any altcoins in the chat, smash them in there. Smash them in. I'll do a little TA for you. Let's jump to MATIC right now. Let's jump to MATIC because everyone has been pretty bullish on MATIC, and it has seen a bit of a price reversal right now. As you can see, in terms of a downtrend after this massive, massive upswing, after we saw a bottom down at around $1, $1.03, right? As you can see, we did find insane resistance on the top side of this price channel, right? Insane resistance on the top side of this price channel on the short term, and that price channel basically runs across onto the midterm and potentially the long term as well, guys. So there's definitely something to consider when looking at your charts there, right? I'm just gonna have some H2O because I'm speaking real quick. Oh, lovely. And guys, if you want to trade with me every morning, Monday to Friday, I do try and stream on the weekends. But obviously, sometimes you do have commitments and stuff. I'm never going to miss a day of uploading, right? So you're always going to see a bit of content from me every single day. So if you want to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell, you're never going to miss one of my pieces of content, right? And yeah, I do stream Monday to Friday every morning for around an hour or two. I did do a 3-hour stream the other day, but I'll be honest, it absolutely killed me, right? Absolutely killed me. But it's fun. I do enjoy myself on these streams, right? But yeah, in terms of MATIC right now, we do have this dominant trend line coming down from the all-time high at around $2.70 there. So if we are looking at a break to the upside, we are going to be looking at basically coming up, getting through this next level of resistance at 1.86, smashing through this moving average here, this 21, and smashing through this 55. If we can find support on all of them, I can see a surge in the price to the upside and potentially coming and testing this trend line of the rising channel that we've got on the long term, I guess, right? On the long term, I guess. But at this point in time, we have got pretty much a lot of selling power, right? A lot of selling power. But as you can see, we do have not a channel, right? We don't have a channel, but we do have a falling wedge, right? I do have a falling wedge. That's falling, right? Falling wedge that's falling. And let me jump to the 15-minute time frame to get a better visual on that. Better visual on that. As you can see, let me get rid of the word machine quickly, right? There we go. Look at that. A lot more attractive in terms of visual appearance, right? Let's get that lined up a bit better. As you can see, we do have a falling wedge, right? We do have a falling wedge at this point in time. Quite a lot of confirmation that this is going to play out because we do have a lot of touches on either side, right? A lot of tests, right? This would have been nice if it came up and touched that side, but we didn't quite get there in terms of buying power, right, for MATIC. But at this point in time, we are seeing this falling wedge, right? We are seeing this falling wedge, and there's potential for a short position, right? Potential for a short position. We could be looking at something along the lines of this if we are going to break, and it basically near enough lines up with this level of support down at $1.50. Great accumulation point for MATIC there, in my opinion, because they are doing some amazing stuff, and I am pretty bullish, and I pretty much am pretty bullish until we see probably a $5-6 MATIC, right? Because I do think it's seriously underpriced, and I think a lot of people do in terms of underpriced at the moment, because as you can see, we have seen a lot of buying power. And in terms of that massive panic sell that we had the other day, right, we did see that this was the quickest recovering altcoin, that actually surged and basically went back to break even before we even crashed, right? So that is definitely something to think about in terms of buying power for MATIC right now. In terms of a measure move, in terms of a short down, we are going to be looking at around a 12%, but take into account, we do have this trend line coming up. We do have this trend line coming up, and it's dominantly respected, right? It's dominantly respected on all of the time frames, right? All of the time frames, as you can see, it's literally dominantly respected in terms of this price channel that we've got going on here. So if you were looking at getting into a short after we break this falling wedge, I wouldn't be looking at getting past this anytime soon. We could do a little bit of a fake out, but in terms of risk reward, we need to be safe. We need to get those percents in, and it's still a 7.57% trade, right? Still lovely trade, right? Hedge funds, I think they aim to make 4% a year or something stupid like that. So 7% in a day is absolutely ridiculous gains, right? Absolutely ridiculous gains, right? But yeah, in terms of that's breaking to the downside for this falling wedge. In terms of breaking to the upside and finding some support on this bottom side of this falling wedge that we've got going on here, we could be looking at some sort of measure move like this, right? Obviously, this isn't a greedy measure move. It's just it's the most likely scenario to play out, right? If we're going to do a greedy measure move like I know some of you like to do, we are going to see a measure move looking along the lines of this, right? And that's a huge surge in the price for MATIC, and I wouldn't count that out. I wouldn't count that out because obviously we have seen insane buying power with MATIC, as I was speaking about a minute ago. But at this point in time, it is pumping up. It has found a nice piece of resistance here, a nice piece of support here, and it has smashed through this resistance level at 1.72. So if we can close the next 15-minute candle above there, we could be looking at a nice little test of the upside of this falling wedge and potentially a break, right? Potentially a break to the upside here. In terms of percentage for that non-greedy trade that we're looking at, it's just about a 5%, just under 5% there. Definitely something to think about if we are going to break to the top side of this falling wedge here. And if the wedge is falling, we're likely to break to the top side. That's just how it works, people. Commonly, we are likely to break to the upside. If we're looking for a greedy measure move here, we're looking at a 16% trade. And for me, that is what we call a mega trade. We like that a lot, right? That's kind of MATIC summed up in terms of chart patterns. In terms of moving average to take into account here, we do have the 55 coming down. We do have the 21 coming down. This is the hourly time frame. Let me jump to the more dominant ones. As I said, they are coming down quite strongly, and we are finding quite a bit of resistance there. So we are going to need a surge in the buying price here, and we are going to need a break to the upside for MATIC here if we are looking at that greedy measure move, right? In terms of the RSI right now for MATIC, as you can see, we're not overbought really. Well, nowhere near overbought. We're looking at more coming to the bottom side of being oversold. And actually, that kind of lines up perfectly because at the moment we're oversold, we are going to get a surge in the price to the upside because everyone's like, oh my God, the RSI is oversold. Let's buy it up because it's cheap, right? We always see a reversal on the RSI when we're oversold or overbought. As you can see here, we did become overbought and we've seen a reversal in the price, right? And then that basically creates that selling power to the downside, right? So vice versa. We're going to create that buying power to the upside if we become oversold on the RSI for you less unexperienced traders there. As you can see, we do have this this cycle coming down on the MACD here. The cycle coming down on the MACD, the next point of resistance here, the next point of support that we're aiming for is 0.03 on the MACD here. And as you can see, it's quite a big surge, right? Quite a big surge. And if we are to continue this downtrend that we've got going on here, we are going to be looking at something along the lines of something along the lines of coming down and completing a measure move and testing the bottom side of this price channel, rising price channel that we've been in for a long time, right? Bottom side, this dominant trend line, and obviously we do have a lot of buying power to the upside from there. So if we are going to come down, we are going to see a nice bit of support on this trend here on the MACD, and then we're going to probably see a bullish crossover and a potential horizontal resistance point on the MACD here in terms of an uptrend. But if not, we are going to be seeing a lower high here, and that's a higher low there, and we are going to be seeing basically the price basically bounce off this trend line that we've got going on here and basically come up and test this trend line of the falling wedge and potentially some consolidation period that we've got going on here. And then hopefully a reclaim and then a surge in the price from there. But obviously we do have this dominant trend line, not in the falling wedge, but this dominant trend line just here to think about, right, when we're coming back up, if we are to see a flip, a bullish crossover on the MACD here and an uptrend forming and getting basically a higher low on the MACD there. That's kind of MATIC summed up in terms of a few trades there to think about. And the RSI and the MACD there. Moving on. Guys, if you've got any altcoins in the chat, I only got 15 minutes left to stream here. Only 15 minutes left to stream because I've only got to do an hour today because I've got to get my car fixed. But yeah, let me jump onto Rune, right? I'm bullish on Rune. They are bringing out some amazing blockchain technology. I did quite a bit of research on them last night. So yeah, definitely something to think about when investing in Loom in terms of a hodl. Obviously, be careful because if we don't claim the 40 that's the wrong chart. If we don't claim the 43 zone for Bitcoin there, then we are going to be looking at coming down again, right? Because that basically indicates whether we're in a bull market or in a bear market. And at this point in time, we have switched to a bear market. So it's definitely something to think about when trading other altcoins, right? At this point in time, you can see on Rune, the short term, we do have dominant trend lines coming down, right? Dominant trend lines coming down. Probably lines up with that perfectly. Yep, it does. Perfect. Dominant trend lines coming down. We do have another symmetrical triangle playing out, as a lot of the charts are, right? A lot of the charts are playing out these symmetrical triangles. So be careful, right? Be careful. When all the charts are doing the same thing, they tend to break in different directions to trick everyone out, right? They tend to break in different directions to trick everyone out. But as you can see, at this point in time, we are currently testing the bottom side of this trend line, on this symmetrical triangle, or potentially finding support on it if you want to move it over ever so slightly, right? But you got to think about this volume-weighted ATR band when trading Rune at this point in time, because we do primarily find support on it. If we don't, we trend below it, right? So look at that as a take profit if you are looking to short this symmetrical triangle to the downside. But as you can see here, let me go back in time. You can see we find dominant support on it. We use it as dominant support. If not, we trickle below it, but we always reclaim it, as you can see here, right? As you can see here, we do find support. I could just keep going back. We always do, right? We always do. So basically, if you are looking at a short in Rune in terms of price, look at basically a take profit around $12 there. Definitely something to consider if you are going to be shorting Rune there. Let me just do that there. Yeah, it's a 4.88% trade there. 4.88% trade. Definitely something to consider if you are going to be shorting. Or yeah, we could be looking at we could be looking at finding support on this trend line, right? If we find support on this trend line, we are going to push to the upside, and we are going to come up and test the 21 moving average here. And as you can see here on the RSI, we're not oversold. We're not quite oversold yet. We're not overbought. So we're looking at pretty stagnant right now. But we do have, if we are going to become oversold, some selling power to the downside. That is an initiation that we are potentially going to come down and test this volume weighted ATR band and potentially come up from there, right? In my opinion, right now, we have just had a bullish, bearish crossover on the MACD there, and we do have a bit of a point to get over, right, in terms of a horizontal lower low to get over. If we are going to trend to the downside on a big scale for the MACD here, we are probably going to see a lower high here. But in order for that to happen, it's likely that we're going to come down and test this volume weighted ATR band there. So it's definitely something to think about in terms of a take profit for shorting Rune there, right? In terms of Rune on the long term, right, let me jump to the long term. Like that 12-hour. We have seen insane surges in the price, right? We have seen insane surges in the price ever since this bull run begun, right? Insane surges. Look at this, right? We were back at literally like 37 cents, and now we're sitting at $12, right? Insane stuff. So this correction that we've had here, this absolute insane sell-off that we've had here for Rune, it's healthy, right? It's healthy. We can't keep going up, right? We can't continuously keep going up without some sort of correction. And if we are going to keep going up like this, we're going to need some insane correction, right? As you can see here, look. We're literally near enough parabolic in terms of the weekly chart here. So this is why we need this correction here. If we were to go something along the lines of this, right? Something along the lines of that, we're going to see, I'm not joking here, we're going to see some literal bigger correction like that, and that's looking literally like some serious percent. So it's better we do it now. And that's why it could be a bit of a fake out on this old bull market barrier here, tricking everyone. So yeah, manage your positions accordingly, and we could basically be returning back to where we were, right? So it could be an insane accumulation point for Rune. It is for me. I have accumulated some in my opinion. But as you can see, we do respect the volume weighted ATR band when we come down in terms of sell power. So if we are going to dump down again in terms of another trap for Bitcoin, because obviously it leads these coins here, look at a nice hodl point from buying up point at around $10 there, right? Definitely something to consider, right? Definitely something to consider at this point with Rune, right? Now, let me have a little look at... Let me have a look at DOT, right? Let me have a little look at the old Polkadot, right? For the short term, let's jump to the short term for Polkadot here. As you can see here, we do have a pretty dominant symmetrical triangle playing out as per on all the charts that we've got going on here. We have actually broken it on this chart. Oh no, it's not a symmetrical triangle. We do have actually an ascending triangle, right? We do have an ascending triangle, which looks something along the lines of this, and we are looking at a break to the downside, right? A break to the downside. Obviously, it is an ascending triangle to the upside, so it is likely we are to break to the downside. In terms of a measure move to the downside, which we'd be looking at like that, we go on the previous downtrend, and then we basically bring it to the break point. It's literally near enough lining up to where this volume weighted ATR band go. A few dollars away potentially, but yeah, a few dollars away potentially, but still a good target price point. And as you can see, we are kind of riding this 21 moving average down, right? We are riding this 21 moving average down, but in terms of a short position right now, you could be in a short position and it could get you a nice 13% gain there. But let's reference the RSI at this point. We're pretty central on the RSI, right? Pretty central on the RSI. Obviously, you can see these dominant higher highs on the RSI in terms of buying power right now. So we could be looking at something along the lines of this, right? Something along the lines of this. And if we are going to come up from there, we are going to see some resistance, right? And that basically lines up perfectly with the top side of this ascending triangle. But with that being said, if that happens, we could be looking at some sort of pattern change, right? Some sort of pattern change that could be looking along the lines of this, right? And then we're basically in another ascending triangle, and then it basically means the ascending triangle that we were in before was a bit of a trap, right? Was a bit of a trap, and we are going to surge to the upside. So that's definitely something to think about in terms of finding resistance off this point on the RSI, in terms of buying power. In terms of the MACD right now, we've just had a bearish crossover. We're potentially looking at coming down and setting a lower low. If that is the case, then not a lower low, a lower high, sorry. If that is the case, we are looking at coming down to test this volume weighted ATR band and completing that measure move, which I was talking about to the downside there for the old symmetrical triangle, right? And that was looking along the lines of something like this, right, around 25. But in terms of percent-wise, that was very nice indeed. As I just said there, I can't remember off the top of my head, but as I just said there, it was very nice indeed, right? But with that being said, we do have a pretty high dominant trend cycle in terms of an uptrend right now on DOT. So we could be looking at a bullish crossover imminently. If this is going to be a flaccid downtrend here, we could be looking at an uptrend, basically a switch around pretty imminently. And that would basically mean we're going to find support on this trend line at around 27.3 there. And basically we could see a progressionary move to the upside from there, potentially not creating a higher high, I don't believe, but probably a higher low in terms of the trend cycle that we've got going on here. And it could look something along the lines of this. Something to think about in the future for the MACD and for DOT itself, right? Now, we're done with DOT now, so definitely something to think about in terms of trading DOT on the short term there. Let's jump to XMR. XMR. I'm just going to have some water here because I'm speaking really fast and my throat's on fire. I'd just like to say thank you guys for watching the stream here. Obviously, I think it's my 7th stream now, so I'm trying to continuously improve. But yeah, smash up that like button. Helps me out tremendously, guys. And also, if you like my content, hit that subscribe button. And you're never going to miss one of my uploads, right? I do upload literally every single day. If I'm not streaming, I'm making an altcoin video for you guys here. As you can see, we do have a dominant trend line to the downside that we have just broken, right? We have just broken on Monero, XMR, very bullish on XMR. And we are seeing a nice surge in the price today, around 5% in terms of upwards price from where we opened, right? So at this point in time, we have just broke this trend line. So that could mean that we are going to come down, right? We could be coming down to test these moving averages at around 277, 280. And at this point in time, in terms of the top 50 cryptos, we're looking at crypto.com. Yeah, crypto.com. They are around 6% up, and Monero is around 4.5% up as well. Those are the only two that are really jumping out. We got KSM as well. That's around 1.5% up as well. So there's only literally 3 altcoins that are in the green at the moment today. So that basically could mean when these other ones start pumping, we could be in a different cycle and we could see basically a reversal in the price for the ones trending to the upside at this point in time. And that could mean losing the support that we are finding on this 55 moving average on the short term, guys, if you want to copy this on your chart. But as I said, we have just broke this major trend line, right? We have just broke this major trend line, which basically means if we aren't going to come up and find support on it again to surge to the upside and test this 200 moving average, we are going to basically find some resistance here. And that basically is an indication that we are going to come down and test this 21 and the 50 moving average that we got going on here, right? As you can see, we did get overbought. We did get overbought at 4 a.m. this morning, just tickling over that edge there. So we are looking at that selling power, and that's basically why we have dumped at this point in time for Monero, right? In terms of literally the last hour or last 2 hours in terms of Monero, right? In terms of what I think could happen, I think we are going to become pretty central. As you can see, we do have a nice level of horizontal resistance here on the RSI, so I am going to see the price coming down, and that's another initiation that we are going to basically see this see the test of the support that we have on these not these volume weighted ATR bands, these moving averages that we've got going on here, right? At this point in time on the MACD, we are looking at a bearish crossover. We're looking at this uptrend basically fizzling out in a sense, right? We are looking at this bearish crossover happening pretty soon, and then if we are going to see that, we are going to be seeing some lower highs here in terms of a downtrend, right? And that basically means that we could potentially not even find any support on these moving averages that we've got going on here, and we could break to the downside and basically hit this monthly pivot point that I've got got plotted in here, right? And that is around 236, right? Definitely something to think about when trading Monero today. Potential short if we are to lose these moving averages here, because the next point of support is this monthly pivot point at around 236. So we could short it all the way down in terms of percentage that you'll be looking for if we are to break and not find support on these moving averages here that are in the crossover period, initiating a price move there. It could be looking at a nice 13% gain there. If we're looking at a greedier one than that, we're looking at a 21% gain all the way down to the volume weighted ATR band, which, as you can see here, we do continuously find support on, right? So that price target there is around 213 if you're looking for that greedy unsafe trade, right? If you're looking for that greedy unsafe trade, right? If you're looking at a surge to the upside, right? If you're looking at a surge to the upside, you could be looking at literally, let's plot in some more trend lines, right? Let's plot in some more trend lines. As you can see here, we do have this pretty dominant trend line coming across here. If we were to come a little bit lower to get a nice touch point here, we do have a pretty fake out scenario going on here. But as you can see, it's a bit of a fake out in terms of a triangle to the upside, right? We have a bit of a fake out. We're pretty fizzling right now. It's nothing really that great going on. But in terms of what could happen here, we could be looking at a rising wedge, right? We could be looking at a rising wedge that's basically consolidating right into the endpoint until we see a break, right? As I said, we are likely to break to the downside or test these major moving averages here and find support off them, the 21 and the 55. Definitely something to think about when trading Monero. But obviously, what I've said before, I am bullish on Monero, right? I am bullish on Monero, and I do see some high hopes for Monero itself, right? In terms of the long term here, we do have this descending triangle, which we have completed the measure move from, and that was basically that massive sell-off that we had the massive shake of the market, right, in terms of crypto, right? Now, that's Monero done. Any request? Oh no, it's literally like 58 minutes. Let me summarize. I do have to go today, unfortunately, at the hour point, because I do have to go get my car fixed, and I'm booked in at 10:30, which sucks. But yeah, so in terms of a summary for Bitcoin right now, are we going to break that 42K mark? Are we going to find support on the bull market barrier? Are we going to surge back to the upside and reclaim what we've been trying to reclaim for the last day or so, right? In terms of when we hit that 30K mark, in terms of Bitcoin, that crazy stuff, right? In terms of the short term right now, I can see us not finding support on these moving averages, which are currently coiled up massively, and I can see us surging to the downside, right? Can see us surging to the downside as referencing the RSI here. We have lost this insanely dominant trend line that we've got going on here. Insanely dominant trend line, which we've been in since literally like last week, 12th of May, something like that. So yeah, insane in terms of finding resistance off that. If we are going to come up, we are going to test these moving averages that are all caught up here, and I can basically see us coming down. If we aren't going to come down, we're going to see a surge in the price to the upside, and that could basically mean, in terms of buying power, we do have another trend line to the upside here, which was created yesterday from this surge of buying power. We are looking at potential resistance there as well, right? It's not going to be getting to the overboughts it's not going to be getting to the overbought stage on the short term for Bitcoin, but if we are going to get there, we are going to see a new higher high for Bitcoin, and that could potentially mean a nice breakout of this price channel that we've got going on here. If that is to happen in terms of a measure move, we're looking at something like that, but obviously be careful. We do have these horizontal resistance points at 42.5 and the 200 moving average coming down at 44.8, right? Definitely things to think about if you're looking at a long position, if we can find support on these major trend lines on the RSI, right? And that's basically to summarize on the short term for Bitcoin. In terms of percent, if you're looking at a long right there, you want to be managing a position accordingly. We could be taking a bit of profit here. We could be taking a bit of profit there, correlating with these resistance points that we need to get over in terms of going to the upside, right? And that's all obviously on the predication that we break those resistance points on the RSI there, right? At this point in time, on the MACD, we're currently in a downtrend, and I can basically see us coming down, testing this lower point of this move, of this trend line that we've got going on here. We're pretty far away from a bullish crossover anytime soon, and the last uptrend that we had was pretty flaccid. It was pretty pathetic, right? Pretty pathetic. So if I see us coming down, I can basically see us finding support at this point on the MACD here, and basically coming down, where I think we're going to come down and lose these moving averages, which we already have. I think we're potentially going to come up and test them again, maybe one more time, and then come down to the downside and basically consolidate in this sideways period inside this downwards this falling channel that we've got going on here, right? Definitely something to think about if we are going to find some support on the MACD here. In terms of if you're shorting off these moving average, in terms of a take profit, it should be around somewhere around 79.9, right? Because that's obviously where we're going to find that resistance on that MACD, right? That's the short term for Bitcoin, pretty much summed up really fast there for you guys. If you're just jumping on the live now, jump back to the start of the live. and you can basically see a more detailed dissection of Bitcoin itself, right? As you can see, because I always start with that in my lives, right? If you're liking the stream, hit that thumbs up, helps me out tremendously. And if you want to see me stream every morning from Monday to Friday, I stream for around an hour, 1 hour to 2 hours. Press that subscribe button and that notification bell, and you're never going to miss one of my uploads as well. I also do some alt-gen videos and also some emergency crypto announcements in terms of price action. If I see something surging, I'm going to be putting out a video to let you guys know, right? Because I want you guys to research it off your own back and be like, oh my god, that's surging, that's a great time to get in, right? And I can advise you on that. Obviously not financial advice, just in a sense guidance, education. I want you guys to do your own research from there, right? In terms of the midterm at this point in time for Bitcoin, we are currently testing this major trend line coming down, which we do have quite a bit of buying power to the upside. If we can find a nice level of support on there and get over this volume weighted ATR band, which we primarily find support on, right? And if we don't, we trend below it and we always reclaim it, right? So that's an indication that we have been testing it recently and we are likely to come up, right? We are likely to come up if we are to find support on it, which we are testing it. And if we do that, we are going to see us surge over 40k, potentially come up and test the 21 and surge to the point of 41,200 there. If we can find support on that, I can see us basically coming up and testing the 55. That would be ideal scenario for Bitcoin. But if we are going to lose this trend line that we've got going on here, and find the resistance there, we are going to come down and potentially hit this next level of support around 36. God, lump in my throat when I say $36,000 Bitcoin. But you never know what could happen, because obviously we did see a $30,000 Bitcoin. And if we lose this trend line, I can see some insane sell-off power to the bottom side, right? Some insane sell-off power to the bottom side. In terms of the RSI right now, in terms of breaking this trend line and reclaiming this 21 moving average and the volume weighted ATR band here, we're miles off. We're miles off being overbought here. So if we are going to see a surge in the price, it's not going to affect the RSI too much in terms of a reversal, because if we do get overbought here, we do need that correction. We do need that sell-off power to the downside, right? So if we are looking at a surge to the upside and claiming the support on these two, on this moving average here and this volume weighted ATR band, it's looking pretty good for the RSI, right? It's an indication that we got the space. We got the space to come up, and we got the space for that buying power on the midterm for the Bitcoin right now. In terms of the MACD right now, we are in this downward cycle, right? We are in this downward cycle. So if we are going to see a switch, it's not going to be that big, right? Because we're going to see the resistance at this point, right? We're going to see the resistance on this trend line that we've got formed here, potentially, if we don't start a new cycle and create a lower low there. But I can see us basically finding resistance on this point here, and that basically correlates perfectly with us finding a nice level of support on 36 if we have that insane selling power to the downside. But obviously, we do have the panic sell, a lot of the FUD in the market right now, so be careful if we are in insane validity times and dumping like crazy, as we saw the day before yesterday, when we saw a $30,000 Bitcoin, which blew everyone's mind, right? It blew everyone's mind. In terms of an uptrend right now for the midterm, I can see this cycle's basically, in my opinion, it's played out, because the reason we know it's played out, because we do have these in a sense flaccid uptrends after that, right? In a sense, flaccid uptrends after that. So we know what we've got going on now. We do have this nice uptrend, right? We do have this nice uptrend. It's a nice new cycle, right? We're miles away from a crossover. We're miles away from a bearish crossover at this point, in my opinion. We are fizzling down ever so slightly. Ideal scenario, I would like to see a surge in the price. I would like to see a nice higher high getting formed here, and a break, and that basically means a break of the volume weighted ATR band and a break of this 21 moving average that we got going on there. If we find support on that, I can see a nice surge in terms of an uptrend, and then we're just going to be setting higher lows after that in terms of basically consolidation period around here, right? Definitely something to think about when trading Bitcoin on the midterm, right? That's summed up for the midterm. In terms of the long term, the long term's pretty brief at the moment, because obviously we've got a target, right? The target is to reclaim this bull market barrier around 43,000. So if you're looking at the price action today, look for that 43k, right? We're probably going to see a lot of resistance at that point, as we saw yesterday, right? We saw resistance at around 42.2. No, 42.4, right? 42.4, we saw quite a lot of resistance there. So we are potentially going to see that again, right? There's probably a lot of sell orders ready there and waiting, because obviously this is the higher time frame. And a lot of people have this bull market barrier indicator, right? So it's basically an indication whether we're in a bull market or a bear market. And at this point, we have switched to a bear market. If what we're seeing here is a massive trap, I can see us basically reclaiming this bull market barrier that we've got going on here and potentially surging to the upside, right? That's the ideal scenario, that we reclaim this nice price channel that we've got going on here. We reclaim that and then see some sort of measure move looking along. Obviously, this is all speculatively speaking, coming up like this, and then basically coming up and seeing a new all-time high for Bitcoin and seeing an $89,000 Bitcoin. Obviously, it's going to take time. It's not going to be imminently. And if we're probably going to see a few traps along the way, right? We're probably going to see a few traps along the way, because now the big guys know how much they can manipulate the markets in terms of like the altcoins as well, right? And that's what the little people are losing out on. The little people are investing in those low altcoins, investing their all their life savings in there, and then they're just getting absolutely obliterated, as we saw this massive panic sell-off a few days ago, right? That's kind of summing up for the long term of Bitcoin and the video in itself. Just aim for that 43K mark. Look for that when trading today, right, guys? Thank you ever so much for watching the stream. Smash that thumbs up button. Helps me out tremendously if you enjoyed the stream. And if you want to see me stream every single day, Monday to Friday, hit that subscribe button. I stream for an hour to 2 hours every single morning, Monday to Friday. And I never miss an upload. You're always going to see a potential altcoin video from me every day. Or it's going to be some sort of emergency alert for some sort of price action, right? Just to summarize quickly, XMR, we are currently up 3.7%. As I said, that's one of my altcoins to watch today. And crypto.com, we are up near enough 4.68% today, right? And if we are looking at breaking that, I didn't do a TA on that actually. Let me do that quickly. We do have this literally ascending triangle coming down here. We do have this ascending triangle coming down. So we could be looking at a break to the upside or potentially a break to the downside for that, right? If we're looking at a measure move from that, we're looking at literally something along the lines of this. But in order to do that, we do need to lose these moving averages here, which we are currently finding a nice level of support on, right? Next target to the upside for crypto.com is 0.13 cents there. I am going to round off the video because I am streaming too long now. I need to go get my car repaired. I'm booked in. I'm going to be late. But yeah, thank you ever so much, guys, for watching. And hit the subscribe button if you want to tune in with me every morning from Monday to Friday. And watch out for my altcoin videos over the weekend. I've got a lot planned for you guys. And you might, if you're lucky, get a stream out of me Sunday night as well, right? Let's see how we go from there. But obviously, thank you guys ever so much for watching. Peace out. Goodbye from Crypto Chester.